Okay, yesterday we saw Daf Tes Zayin days, and we're up to Yud Zayin, but we have a little loose end. We're in a digression about the burial of Chizkiyahu. So by Chizkiyahu, the pasuk said, "By Yishko Chizkiyahu him avosav vayikbaru b'malei kivrei b'nei David." And we brought this in because of the word of Maila. We want to say it in Aliyah that he was elevated. We spoke out yesterday, the beautiful Marsha, that he was elevated to not to be in his makom that had been done by a Rasha Shivna, but elevated to be David and Shlomo. So Maila, Lashon Maila. But the pasuk says the covet asuloi b'moisai, and they made tremendous covet for Chizkiyahu. Now Chizkiyahu was such a huge tzaddik, they thought he was Mashiach. Chizkiyahu was again the tremendous nest that transpired in Chizkiyahu, that Sancheiriv came, surrounded the Yerushalayim with 185,000 troops, and the next morning came and found that Chizkiyahu Davin came, they were all dead. It was an amazing thing. So Chizkiyahu, it says, recovered isolated, 2 lines in the bottom on Yud Tes Zayin base, recovered isolated in Moisai. They made tremendous cover for him. Malamed, Shoshiva Yeshiva al Kivrei. They went ahead and they placed the yeshiva on his what? On his kever. So Rashi says yeshiva talmidim, lasik sham b'Torah, talmidim to be oisik in Torah. Bottom taisvis, so yeshiva al kivrei. The fisha har b'Torah b'Yisrael, shehir b'Torah b'Yisrael. Chizkiyahu was what was known. He increased the Torah in Klal Yisrael. A very famous Gemara. In Sanhedrin, they checked all the people from Don Bet Sheva. Didn't find a man or woman, a young child or a young woman. His success in being Marbit's Torah was to the extent that even the most difficult sugyas of Tumah v'Taira, even women and children knew. So you see that Midon Bet Sheva from Don, the northernmost part of Bet Sheva, the southernmost part, Klal Yisrael, the Chizkiyahu, he overcame what he was able to go ahead and teach. Again, his father Ochaz was a Rasha, and nonetheless, he was. But the question is, how could he go ahead and place a yeshiva on his kever? We know that when you go to a cemetery, there's an Indian of Lo Yigloy Shcher Paseo. You're not supposed to go ahead and kaviyachal laugh at the people who are incapable of doing mitzvahs anymore. So those of us who are aware, who wear our tzitzis out, right? We take the tzitzis and we put them in by the cemetery. So you shouldn't be loyig l'roish. Look, I can do the mitzvahs and you can't. So the question is, how can you shtel sich a yeshiva on top of his kever? By shtelling the yeshiva on top of his kever, as a result of that, what are you doing? You're laughing at him. Look, you can't learn Torah anymore. So that's the problem that Tosfos is addressing. So says Tosfos, V'loyal kibru mamish, not on his kever mamish, ele berachik arba amis. They distance arba amis, the leka loyig l'rosh. In that case, if you distance arba amis, you wouldn't have the problem of loyig l'rosh, of going ahead and scoffing at the poor person who can't be kind of mitzvah anymore. The Nemuk Yosef says, as Rashi said, these are Talmidim. These weren't just any people. So says the Nuka Yosef that loig l'roish maybe might be somebody else, but the Talmidim themselves that he taught Torah, that's not what. That's not loig l'roish. That's not loig l'roish. That is what. That is his Talmidim. I think I heard it's really once he spoke out. I think he spoke from David Weiss. He said that when you say Torah over from the individual who taught it to you, it's svasav David Weiss bakever. His lips in the kever will say it over. So perhaps that is the pshat in the Nemuka Yosef. Since it's his Talmidim who taught him the Torah, memela svasav, his lips will be going ahead and saying over the Torah. So memela, you could see that's not like l'roish because ein covered gadol mizu. That in the kever he's saying over the Torah Talmidim. Thus, you wouldn't have to distance yourself back for amis, but you will be able to sit directly on the kever. So that's a very nice interpretation. I like it very much about the Talmidim. And there, it's not loig l'roish adarabba. It's the schus and the person who's dead is even lips are moving, and he's saying the Torah, and it's very meduya because Rashi says Talmidim. It doesn't say stam people; it says Talmidim, meaning his Talmidim, and that's Rashi also be meduya that what his Talmidim would not be a problem like L'Roish, and they can sit on top of the keva. Maybe it's meduya in Tosfos that it wasn't the Talmidim because Tosfos bought the Gemara from Don Va'ar Bet Sheva. Right. In other words, he was marber a lot of Torah in Yisrael. So according to Tosfos, maybe the Hakpada was what on all of Klal Yisrael, not as Talmidim. Therefore, Tosfos had the pshat of Loig L'Roish. But like Rashi in the Mukha Yosef that it's Dafgis Talmidim, then you could sit Dafka on the Keva. So maybe that would be a pshat Meduyik in Tosfos that it wasn't speaking about his Talmidim. I think I'm comfortable with that as well. Now, how long did they keep it there for? How long did they keep it there for? So Pligi Ba Reb Nosson v'Rabbanan. You had Machlokes in Reb Nosson and the Rabbanan. Chadam Shloshiyam in 3 days. V'Chadam Shiva once of 7 days. V'Mil Shloshim. We're all familiar with these are 3 zmanim that have to do with mourning, with Avelis. The first 3 days are the most difficult. The Bechi, Shiva, and then we have Shloshim. So these are what are times of maybe say corresponding to the Mei Avelis. That's the zman of what they kept they kept the yeshiva there. Tan Rabbanan. It says v'kavod us le b'maisai. They mechaben in his death. It's a Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda. This refers to Chizkiyahu Melech Yehuda. They yatsu lefanav shloisha v'shivim elef chalutze kasaf. In front of his mita went 36 people with exposed shoulders, like some type of kriya that their shoulder was exposed. Right? Divrei Reb Yehuda. Amalei Rav Nechemya, Ba'alei Lefnei Achav Asukain. Achav also, who was a Russia, that they went many people in front of him. Ela Sheniach Sefer Torah Mitaslei Ramu Kayim Zeh, Mashikasav Zeh. They put a Sefer Torah on top of Chizkiyo's buyer, and said he was Mekayim. He fulfilled in this what was said in there. If you look at top places, where do you get what? Shleishim B'Shisha Elef. It says loy b'gematria hachi. Loy is 36. Now 36 people is not a lot of people. So it says the covered asu loy b'moisa, guys. The covered asu loy b'moisa. The loy is symbolic of 36, and we're going to say it's 1,000 because 36 people is not that many. Now, so they put a sefer Torah on top of his keva, of his not his keva, of his mita. Well, idna nami avdin and hachi. In the time that in our days also they were known to take out a sefer Torah. If another gadol was nifta, they would take a sefer Torah out for his kavod. So it says, "No afuki mafkin," and you would take it out, but a nuchi loy manchina, and you wouldn't go ahead and place it by the mace itself. Even by Yisema, anuchi nam manchina, by even not bizman azel, will place it by the mace, but they won't say kayim lo yamina, but they won't say kayim. They won't say that the person fulfilled what was over here. So that was the uniqueness of Chizkiyahu. Amar Rav Chana. I was accompanying Rabbi Yochanan. I wanted to speak to him in learning. When he went to the Beis HaKisei, I asked him something like Pasha Lon. He didn't answer us. I had the Masha Yadeh till he came out and he washed his hands. He put on his tefillin and made a bracha. And afterwards he said, "You could even say kayim, right? But li made lo yaminon. But to go ahead, what that." Now, what he didn't teach, he didn't learn. In other words, he was Mekayim, but he didn't learn. No, so we don't say learning, we say it's Mekayim. So, Fredrik Mardakasha, my God, limud Torah should had a limud maybe Maisa. So, if limud is bigger than Maisa, if you're going to say Kayim, certainly you could say limud, fellas. If you could say Kayim, certainly you could say limud. It says, Kasha, Hola Migmar, Hola Agmure. One thing to teach and one thing to learn. Rabbi Yochanan, what he said, it was miyachid that he taught. In other words, not only did he learn, he taught. So they would say that you makayim it, but they wouldn't say you taught it. By Chizkiyahu, they said they taught it. Pini Ron Yud Zayin Amid Aleph, Yud Zayin Amid Aleph. Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Vayichoy Mamish in the middle, Mamish smack in the middle of the page. Opposite the Tosfos Amar Gadol Limud Torah Shemev Lei Maisa. Opposite that. Amar Gadol Limud Torah Shaloi made me b'Dei Maisa. Like Kasha Hola Migmar. That Hola Migmar the Maisa, Hola Gmure to learn. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Vayichoy, my dichsiv, Ashreichem, Pasuk says, Ashreichem Zorei Zorei al kol mayim, mishalchu regel shor chamor. Now we had this mishalchu regel shor chamor. We brought it in earlier in Masechta Daf Beis. Kol oisik b'Torah ugemilas chasadim. Anyone is oisik in Torah and gemilas chasadim, zoichel lenachla shtei shvatim. They can be zoichel to the nachla of two shvatim, and the shvatim are the shor and the chamor. So ashreichem zorei al kol mayim. Fortunate are those who plant al kol mayim. Mayim is water, fellas, as Torah we're going to see. And we're going to compare it to the shevet that's compared to a shor, and the shevet that's compared to a chamar. Shnemar, ashreichem zoirei vein zri el tzedakah. Zri refers to tzedakah. Shnemar, ziru lochem letzedakah v'kitzru lefichaset. So we see that zero planting is considered like tzedakah. And now what it says about kol mayim, v'mayim el Torah. So shnemar hoi kol tzameh l'chul mayim. So people who do chesed, they give tzedakah, and people who learn Torah, they're zoicha to the shor and the chamar. The zoichel lenachla shtei shvatim, zoichel lekila ki Yosef. The zoichel to literally a canopy, I think, of Yosef. The chsiv and paris Yosef v'nais soda alei shor, and the lashon of paris is the lashon of aperion, of beauty. The zoichel lenachas Yisachar, the chsiv Yisachar chamagorim. Yisachar is the bony donkey was makabel al Torah. So you say that the chesed of Yosef, the aperion of Yosef, is the acts of tzedakah Yosef did to everybody. And the Torah that, as we're going to see, Bnei Yisachar, Yodei Bina Le'itim. So people give tzedakah and learn Torah will be zeicha to nimshol to these two wonderful shvatim. Isti Amri, Oichlin, Oivim Neiflin Lefan of Ki Yosef. His enemies will fall in front of him like Yosef. Right? Behem, because it says, the Karnei Bre'em Karnov, Behem Amim Yinagach, Yachtav Avsei Oretz. That we also had a Daf Beis that proved that Karen, Negichas with a Karen. So we see that when they captured the land, they captured the 31 kings. They captured with literally with Yosef with the Karen. The calendar to the more difficult halachas to go ahead and set the calendar to know exactly when the Yom Tovim are was given over particularly to Shevet Yisachar. Yodei Bina Le'itim. They had been to understand the eatim, the times. So the Hadron Lecha Arba Avos Hadron Lecha Arba Avos Hadron Lecha Arba Avos Nezikin. Okay, the second parak it's a continuation of the first parak. The second parak is very much a continuation of the first parak, and it begins dealing with the halachas of regel. So just in our minds, what's regel? Regel is Shedarka Leilach Lahazik Hezeki Matzui. Its way is to go and do damage. It does damage by walking. The told us it does damage things that are on its neck, on its back. And as it's walking along, and that it seems also that Zeku Matzoi, it was very common for it to be damaged. I guess think about cars moving bisman hazeh. The more they move, the more they fender bend, scratch things. If you're in one place stagnant, you don't have as many venues of getting damaged. But if you're constantly on the move, the chances of you getting into trouble or someone getting into trouble with you are magnified. So therefore, Hezekim Matzli. Says the Mishnah, Ketzla Regel Muedes. How is the Regel a Mued? So the Shaba B'derech Hilucha. Regel is a Mued to break B'derech Hilucha as it's going. As the Regel goes, it goes along, it breaks. Right? The Shaba B'derech Hilucha. Abehema Muedes. Abehema is a Mued, Lahalach Kedarko, L'Shabbat, to go and. So it seems redundant over here. You just told me a regel is a muad to go and do damage, and now you tell me a behemoth is a muad to go and damage. Why? What are you telling me that you didn't know? Why do you know from the word behemoth? You know from the word regel. The Gemara is going to ask that. If the animal was kicking, or there are pebbles shooting out from underneath its feet as it's walking, and it breaks kalim, and it pay chatzinezek. Now mivaetes kicking. You're going to pay chatzinezek because beita is a tolda of keren. Negicha, neshifa, right? Remember, negicha, negifa, revitza, beita, and kicking is a tolda of keren. So when it says over here beita, you're kicking. So even though it's done with the foot, don't make a mistake when you think it's regal. It's not regal. If an animal kicks another animal, it's a tolda of keren, and you pay chatzinezek. Sroiris, we said Allah lamash misinai. That you're going to pay chatzi nezek. Dorsa ala kli, the animal steps on a kli, v'shivrasle, and it breaks the kli. And now that broken piece goes, v'nafal al kli, and that broken piece goes and shoots out, v'shibru, and it breaks the other kli. Alavisha mishalim nezek shalem al sregel. Achre mishalim chatzi nezek al tzroiris. Again, tzroiris is anything that goes mikoicha. It goes from the koich of the animal. So over here you have the first kli shooting out and getting the second kli. That would be a tol dawad of regel. So the first kli is regel itself. The second kli would be what? Would be tzroiris. Atanagolim mu'odim lahalich kidarkon u'lishaber. Tarnagolim are mu'odim to go kidarkon u'lishaber. They go ahead. The chickens, they have a lacha of they're mu'odim. They're mu'odim. They do regel. Hoya delil kosher beraglov. A delil is anything that is attached to its foot. It's called a delil. Now, if your gear is a deli, then it's a pitcher. So there's two gears. It's delil, all deli. It's attached to the lid. Now, it's jumping around and it's swinging around this deli from its leg. So now, if it was going and it had a deli kosher b'raglov, mahadas, or it was jumping around like chickens jump, mishabres kalim, and it breaks kalim, the deli breaks the kli, or or when it's jumping around, obviously it can't be. It's not it. We're going to see, right? It must be that when it jumps, it's picking up pebbles and it's shooting out. If the chicken's jumping and it does the damage with its legs, it's regel. If the chicken's jumping and if its force jumps, things come out, then it's tzroiris. So who then the deli, even though it's attached to it, if it throws it, think about a tether ball, right? The tether ball, like you take the tether ball, you throw it, it's attached to a rope. So when it leaves your hand, you have your koyachs in there, but what? It's your koyach, it's not you. It's not like you taking the ball and pushing it against somebody. When you throw it, it's your koyach. We're going to get into that very much. So we have the Mishnah, we have the lashon of regel, the lashon of behema, seem to be saying the same thing. We have the chiddush of what of tzroiris, and we have the chiddush of a koyach of the kochu is kegufay. See the Gemara. We're going to shtel sich on the first Mishnah. To do the first Mishnah, make things a little easier. Let's turn to Yutes Amid Beis quickly. Yutes Amid Beis. Says the Mishnah, Ketzar Hashem Muedes. How's Hashem Mued? Lecheles Aroyilo, Ti what's way fit to eat. And again, Habehema Muedes, Lecho Peris V'Yerakois. Achol Ksusay Kalim, if it eats cups, or Kalim, Mishalim Chatzinezek, because that's Mishuna, because that's different. Now again, we're going to ask the same question. It starts off with Shane, and then it goes into an animal. And it doesn't make a distinction by what they're doing. Shane is a mu'ah to eat what it eats, and then it says the behemoth is a mu'ah to eat what it eats. So it seems to be redundant. So the Gemara now is going to compare and contrast the redundancy of our Mishnah and the redundancy of the Mishnah by Shane. By us also, guys. Look at us. What does it say by us? Ketzer regel muedes l'shaber v'derech hilucha. Okay, so let's see that Mishnah. Says the Gemara. Amalei Ravina l'Rava. Hainu regel, hainu behema. Hainu regel, hainu behema. It's the same thing. What are you adding in the sefer that you know from the Reisha? Says Rashi. My regel uma behema the tani tarti must nisan achadahi. They're one and the same. The Amri hada tani behema muedes. And why are you going back and learning behema muedes? What is that second case teaching me? So Amalei, so Rabbi told Ravina, Tana Avais Vikatani told us. But when it says Regel Mamish, that stepped on the Kli, that's what? That's speaking about the Av. And the Sefer, it says Behemim Wedes Lahalach Gedarka, is speaking that it breaks with its hair or with its saddle, Derech Hilucha, which is the Tolda. So therefore, Hashem Wedes, Ketzer Regel Muedes, right? Ketzer Regel Muedes. The Shabbat b'derech halacha. That's the Av. What's the Tolda? Habehemim ve'edes lahalich kedarka, and with its hair, with its saddle, with its load on its back. Okay, so that's the way Rabbi answers the Mishnah. The Mishnah is telling us the Av. The word regel is the Av, and the word behema is the Tolda. Guys, regel's Av, behema is the Tolda. Okay, that's what he told Ravina. So Ravina retorts to Rav. Elamayata, Sefer Diktani, the Sefer meaning the next Mishnah on Daf Yotes, Hashem Uedes Abehema Uedes, my Obus my told us Ikka. Guys, do you remember? You have a cheat sheet there. Do you remember the Tolda of Shane? Nischacha b'koisel lahanasa, tinfa peris lahanasa. Right? What is it doing? You're rubbing against the wall to scratch, rolling around on peiros again to get a sensory thing. Did the Mishnah on Yutes say that? No. The Mishnah said Shane, the Mishnah said Behema, and it described eating, which is the Av. So now you can't answer the same way you answered over here, Rava. Rava, you answered the Reisha is speaking what? The Av of Regel. The Seif is speaking about the Tolda Behema. On Yutes, it says Hashain, Muedes Lechal Saroyla, HaBehema, also to eat what's right to eat. And you can't give the Teretz to speaking about the Tolda of Shane, because the Tolda of Shane is rubbing him against the wall or on Paris. So how will you, Rava, answer the second Mishnah? And for the Gemara, so Rava was answering Ravina facetiously. And he said, listen, you Ravina, I learned Pshat in one, I learned Pshat in Regel, you learned Pshat in Shane. I answered up Regel, right? Regel is the Av, Behem is the Tolda. You have a question from Shane, you answer up the next Mishnah on your test. The time of my, so Taka, what's Pshat in the Mishnah on your test? So Ravashi, Tanan Shane de Chaya, Ukatani Shane de Behema. You know what the answer is? On Daf Yomi, the first mention of Shane is a Chaya, and then when it says Behema Muedes Lechas Arayla is speaking about a Behema. And the Chiddush is to teach me that a Chaya is B'chal Behema. Sal Kedai Techamina. I would have thought. V'shilach es be'iroi. It says in the Torah, V'shilach es be'iroi bir bis de'acher, and he sends forth his be'iroi. Guys, if you look at word Behema, be'iroi is a Behema. It's consumer. V'shilach es be'iroi ksiv Behema in Chayaloi. Since a be'iroi is a Behema, the pasuk is Shane. I would have limited Shane to a be'iroi to a Behema, but a Chaya not. Kamash Lon, the Chaya b'chal Behema. Kamash Lon by saying Hashem Uedes, the Chaya is b'chal Behema. So Ravina answers up the next Mishnah. It's not speaking about an Av and a Tolda. It's speaking about Chaya. The first is Chaya and then Behema. Good? Chaya and then Behema, right? So Hashem Uedes is a Chaya, a Behema is a Behema. Now, what's the Chiddush here, guys? The Behema or the Chaya? Obviously the Chaya, correct? So why do this Behema first? It says, you should have learned Behema first. It says, the one that you learn from Midrasha is Mochaviv. We had this in the Dorim. That you learn from the Drasha is Mochaviv, and therefore what? And therefore we learned it first. So what's the Drasha? Chaya is the Drasha. So since Chaya was Mochaviv to them, they learned Chaya first. It was Mochaviv, Reisha Nami by Regel as well. Listening, I heed like Siva Bereisha. Learn the thing that wasn't listed Bereisha, that told us, right? Outside, guys, outside eye contact. We have we have first Mishnah, Avos, told us. Second Mishnah, Chaya, Behema. Fred the Gemara, Behema is the one main thing, you should learn that first. Says the Gemara, no, we learned Chaya first because it's Mochaviv. Fred the Gemara, if you're learning the bigger Chiddush first, so learn Tolda first. Learn Tolda first. After all, Regel is written in the Torah. The Av is written. That's what makes it an Av. If you remember the first Rashi in the Masechta, right? What's an Av? So for the Gemara, if you're in the Chiddush cycle, that the bigger Chiddush you're learning first, well, the Tolda is the bigger Chiddush because it's not written. So by Regel, the Mishnah of Regel lists what? First the Tolda, then the Av. That's the Kasha. And for the Gemara, Hachi Hashta. Hasam over there, by Shane and Chaya, ID of us. Both the Behema and the Chaya are of us. There's no Toldos. Again, there's no rubbing against the wall there. It's Achila. Achila is the Av. So therefore, they're equal footing, an Av and an Av. Hachdi Aslay Midrasha, Chaya that you learn from Midrasha, Chavivalei. And therefore, we listed it first. But Hacha over here, Shavik Av, Hetani Tolda. Would you leave an Av to learn a Tolda? So good the Tolda is not written, but it's not the main thing. In other words, it makes sense to say there's a father before there's a kid. To list the kid without the father makes no sense. Over there, where they're both fathers, it makes sense to learn which father is the bigger chiddush. Over here, to put a child before a father, that makes no sense. So therefore, we listed regel first, which is the av, and then we listed behema, which is the tolda. Iba yisema, you know why we listed regel first? I did the solik mi regel, pasach mi regel. Since we went ahead and we concluded with regel, we lit regel first. Why does it mean we concluded regel? Why do we mean we concluded what with regel? So according to Shmuel, I would think it's very, very easy. Open up the Masechta, guys. Arba Avos Nazikin, Hashar, according to Shmuel, is regel. So Ketzel Rogam Wedus would be very good according to Shmuel, right? That would be very good according to Shmuel. That would be very good according to Shmuel. That why you listed what? Why you listed that first? Any other pshatim? Let's see. The last Mishnah in the last at the end of the Mishnayos we were speaking about on Daf Kesvav, but it lists regel there. So therefore we listed Ketzera regel. And remember the 5 Pamim, 5 Muadim? So we learned regel. Since we learned regel there, we learned regel before. We learned the av before the tolda. We learned the av before the tolda. Tanrabanan. Behema muedes lahalich kedarko ulashaber. Behema is wide as the derech to go out and to break. Ketzad. Behema shenichnaso lechatzer nizik. A behema that goes into the chatzar of the nizik. Bezike begufa derech yilucha. These are the told us, and it does damage with its body derech yilucha. Ubesaora derech yilucha with the hair. Ba'oikev shalah at the saddle. B'shlif shalah the load. Pumbiya shebapia the bit. Ubezuk savara and the bell around its neck, the chamar b'masoy and the chamar with its load, Mishalim nesek shalim. These are all told us of what of regel. These are all told us of regel. You can pay nesek shalim. Ubitzroiris, Sumchus Amar. Sumchus says, Tzroiris the chazer shayinova ba'ashba the hizik Mishalim nesek shalim. Tzroiris and a chazer that is you know the chazerim they're busy with their snout going around in the garbage dump, and it does damage. You pay nesek shalim. Now, what's tzroiris? Why are we mentioning tzroiris? And what's the case of chazer shenava ba'ashba? They can pay nesek shalim. Says the Gemara. Hizik pshita. Don't say that if it does damage with its nose. It does damage. It went like this. The pig is snorting around, and it went like this, and something shut out from its snout. It shut out and broke something. You're going to pay nesek shalim. Fred Gemara, tzroiris man de koshmayu. Who mentioned tzroiris? We're speaking about regel, and you just you throw in tzroiris. We're speaking about regel. What are you throwing in tzroiris for? Says the Bryce is missing words. Tzroiris kiru chayu chatzi nesek. If tzroiris in its normal way is chatzi nesek, the chazer shoyinova ba'ashba v'hitis v'hisik m'shalim chatzi nesek. And a chazer that's in the garbage dump and it does tzroiris, you pay chatzi nesek. Sumchus lamat tzroiris v'chazer shoyinova ba'ashba v'hitis v'hisik m'shalim nesek shalim. Rashi tells us, guys, Sumchus, Leslie hilchasa the chatzi nesek tzroiris. He does not have the halacha of chatzi nesek tzroiris as in ela nesek shalim. He holds this nesek shalim. Okay, so what do we see in this brisa? We saw the tolda of regel. We saw also tzroiris, and we saw sumchus arguing, and we introduced the different tzroiris. We had a chazer shenoiva ba'ashba. So let's see Tosfos over here, guys. I'll ask you a gemaldig kasha. Chazer shenoiva ba'ashba. Yikarsimenu chazer miyar mitagaminon. This pasuk into Hillim, right? We have a targum on that. Let me see what the pasuk into Hillim is. Hillim pay. Yikasimenu chaza miyar. The chaza, this is the wild boar. It ravages in the forest. So they teach the wild boar ravaging in the forest. How do they teach it? You knew virena. It's the lashon of noiva. So noiva is lashon ravaging. The Afghan the tanat tsoiris the regel. So why do you have to tell me this? If you tell me it's tsoiris, what's the chiddush? Listen to this, guys. The Afghan tanat tsoiris the regel. Ashmin and tsoiris the shane. We hear tsoiris of shane dil hanasai ka'avid, that it's doing for hana. So we began the Masechta. Let's go back in time. Arba avos nezikin, avos mechaldik etoldos, Shabbos the toldos kiyotz behen, Tummo the lav is lav kiyotz behen, nezikin yesh mehem kiyotz behen, yesh mehem lav kiyotz behen. We concluded it was chatzi nezek tzroiris by regel, correct? Reg de Welt, you see that you're not limited to regel, fellas. Like Toisvis, you have tzroiris the shame. When this animal, this chazer, is foraging, it's not an act of walking and shooting. It's in walking in an act of having hana. It's eating garbage. It's eating whatever it's eating, and as it's eating it, something shoots out. So that's tzroiris shame. So freg the Welt. Why did the Gemara say early in the Masechta that we concluded, guys, that told us the shame k'shame? We said the only one that wasn't the same was told the regel. Does this ring a bell? I'm not getting a lot of knowledgeable nods here. No, it's okay. Anyway, I like the kasha. I like the kasha. Anyway, the teretz to the kasha is that tzroiris is going on all of them. That's yesh mehen kiyatzeben from them, not one. It doesn't say regel. It says yesh mehen. So the chiddush when it said tzroiris, it wasn't limited to regel. It was in shein as well. Okay, I like the kasha. Let's go right there. Bunch of deadbeats. The chickens, they were flying from place to place, guys. The chickens were flying around. The shibru kalim bekanfehem, and they broke kalim with their wings. And their wings touched the kalim, and they broke them. Mishalim nezek shalem. Then they're going to pay nezek shalem because that would be regel. Beruchai shebekanfehem, the ruach that would emanate from underneath them, mishal mechatzi nezek, because that's tzroiris, fellas, right? The wind shooting out is a koach. It's just like the koach of tzroiris is a koach. This is also a koach. Sumchas amar, sumchas of the opinion, nezek shalem. You're going to pay nezek shalem. Tanya idach, another brisa. Tanya golim shalim ma'adasim agabe isa. Tanya golim, they were hopping on top of dough. The algabe peris or on top of peris. The tinfoy, and they dirtied the peris. By nikroi, or they were pecking in it. Mishalim nezek shalem. Probably told of Shane. Hello, offer. If when they're dancing around, they bring dirt onto the dough. It's tzroiris or pebbles. Mishalim chatzi nezek. And simchas amen nezek shalem. Again, telling us simchas the shitasle that tzroiris is nezek shalem. He does not have the halacha mesh misinai. Tanya idach. Tarnagol shoyim afriach b'makam l'makayim. V'yotzer ruach mitachas kinafeha. V'shum wes hakelim. Mishalim chatzi nezek. Stomach rabbanon, who say that tzroiris is chatzi nezek. Amarava b'shleim is simchas kasava koicha gegufay dami. El rabbanon ikegufay dami kula nezek boil shalem. If the koich is kegufay, you should pay full nezek. The lav kegufay dami chatzi nezek nami like the shalem. So in manav shach, why did the chachamim hold? B'shleim simchas we know he holds its koicha, you're paying nezek shalem. But according to chachamim, why are you paying chatzi nezek? Again, we don't know the concept of tzroiris yet. So we want to know manav shach. If it's koichai, then you should pay the full thing. If it's not koichai, it should be pata. It's kegufay dami. The chatzi nezek tzroiris hilchas gemiri law. And as we concluded in the first part of the Masechta, chatzi nezek tzroiris is hilchas gemiri law. It's chatzi nezek tzroiris is hilchas gemiri law, and therefore what you would pay chatzi nezek. Amarava kol shebezav tamei b'nizakim b'shalim nezek shalem. Anything by a zav that's tamei by the zikin nesek shalem. So just like when the zav touches you, you're tamei, you pay nesek shalem. If a zav would throw something to you, kol shebezav tahar ben zikin b'shalim chatzi nesek. If he throws something to you, then you be tar. A zav is an avatoma. What he touches is a rishon. A rishon can't be metama a person. So then you'll be paid chatzi nesek. That's That's the very, very interesting parallel to Nimshal. Rava, Rava, is Rava coming to teach me dinner Tsoiris? No. Rava Egla Moisheches B'Karan Kamash Malan. Rava is telling us about the halacha of an egla, of a calf, that is Moishech B'Karan, that is going ahead and he's pulling a wagon. So if the behema is pulling another wagon, and the kalim break because of the karoin, that's not considered, right? It's not considered that it's broken from his koyach and you pay chatzin esek. But it's ki'ilu what, that it's broken with his body. If I have attached to me a U-Haul and I'm driving a car, could you see a distinction between the U-Haul in back of me and the car? If the car would roll over someone's kalim, or the wheels of the U-Haul would go over somebody's kalim, can you view it as the same din? Or do you view the U-Haul as a koach? So the chiddush over here, we view the U-Haul as a car. We view it as part and parcel, and then you pay nesek shalim. Okay, that's the chiddush over here. Egel mushes b'karan kamash v'lon, that we don't view it as sroiris, as a koichoy, but in fact we view it as part of the car. And just like if a zav was sitting on the wagon and it would go over the kalim would be tamei, who hadin by nezikin. So that's the chiddush over here in this very, very odd case of zav. So now, if a zav is sitting on a wagon and they roll over kalim, it's tamei. So too over here, if it rolls over kalim, the extension, even though the egla, the force is it's a little different over here, fellas. Over here, by the egla is disattached from the wagon, is pulling the wagon. The zav is sitting directly on the wagon. I think the Mishanim talk about that. But anyway, for our purposes, Daf Yomi purposes, one more time. Let's see that one more time. So Rava egla mesheches b'karan kamash malan. An egla that is pulling a karoin, that just like if a zav was sitting on a wagon, it's tamei. Who had din, even though the egla is pulling the wagon would be considered part of the egla, and you'd be chayiv nesek shalim. Tani kavasi the Rava. Behema mued is the shabbat v'derech hilucha. The behema is a muad to break when it goes. Ketzad behema shekonsa the chotzer nisik. A behema that goes into the chotzer of the nisik. Ve'ziku b'gufa derech hilucha u'b'shara derech hilucha v'oikiv she'alaha u'b'shtiv she'alaha. Again, that's the saddle. That's the load. U'prumi she'bapiyah zhuk sebavara v'chamar b'masoi ve'egla mosheches b'karoin. And again, we add the words in the brisa itself, right? Mishalim nesek shalim. You're going to pay nesek shalim. Tanagolim shoyi mechatnim bechevel deli. Tanagolim what? Okay, I guess we'll stop over here. This gets more involved. Okay, have a great day, fellas.